Hey everyone, how's it going? Thanks so much for tuning in. Today, we're going to be checking out this 1972 Chevrolet Chevelle Resto Mod build. It's one of our latest clients for K&J Design and Auto Works, and if you guys didn't know already, it's a shop that myself and a good friend of mine started last summer, so I've been splitting duties between my personal YouTube projects and our client builds, which this car is awesome. This guy has owned this thing for at least a decade, and it's undergone a whole bunch of transformations over the years, but now he's wanting to do the Resto Mod treatment, basically modernize all of the underpinnings, keep the classic styling and the original character of the car, but make it into something that he can daily drive, pretty much anywhere and take a long trip and all that good stuff. But right now, it's got an LS3 out of a 5th gen Camaro and a 6L80 6-speed automatic transmission. So I guess technically it's the L99, like 400 horsepower one, but this thing has all sorts of upgrades. It's got an upgraded Texas Speed cam kit and all sorts of other dress-up stuff. We're about to fire this thing up for the first time, and it's going to be awesome. We are so excited. The client is on his way to hear it start up for the first time in like 2 years, so it's going to be fantastic. This car, the whole build was started a while back, and then we were contracted to finish the work, basically wiring up the LS, wiring up the entire body with just a brand new harness, and it was a lot of work, but man, this thing is going to be so sweet. So let me show you some of the little details and stuff, and wait for the client to arrive, and we'll get this thing running. For those that are curious, this blue is actually from a Toyota Tacoma. I can't remember what year and the actual color, but I'll find out from the client and post it in the description box below. But while we're up here, let me go ahead and show you the engine bay. At some point in the past, when the car was first restored, they did a smooth firewall, and it looks really nice. Definitely cleaned things up. It's got a complete vintage air system, so all of that starts with the plumbing up front, and then we've got the compressor right there, and all of the custom lines that are tucked into the fender and into the passenger compartment there. But this whole powertrain was basically a low-mile takeout setup from a 5th gen Camaro that was wrecked. Everything was in good shape, just disassembled, cleaned up, and put back together. Of course, with the Texas Speed cam kit. It also has a upgraded CVF racing serpentine system. I think this is actually one of the 8-rib setups. It's pretty beefy. And I really like that custom cold air intake. They actually routed it to the driver's side fender, so it's pulling in as cold of air as possible instead of it just being in the engine bay. Really nice setup. Along with the wiring, there were some other things that we were contracted to do as well, just in the process of getting this thing running, such as plumbing everything up. So we made custom AN power steering lines with the proper pressure rated lines. We've got transmission cooler lines, and of course all of the fuel lines running from the LS fuel rail to the back tank, which I think has one of those Holley in-tank sniper fuel injection systems. But from this side, you can see a little bit more of the CVS Racing serpentine setup. It's black with the diamond cut accents. Very cool. I'm also not really sure what swap setup was used for all of this. It's a little bit different from the Hooker Blackheart setup that I used in my wife's Chevelle, and this is actually pretty nice. There's a lot of clearance down below there. Good clearance around the steering box for the power steering pump reservoir, clearance for the oil pan and all that good stuff. Very nice. So I'll try to find that out as well. Upgraded Willwood braking components, nice and clean. This thing is going to be a monster. I will say one more thing about the wiring while we're still at the front of the car. My business partner Joe can wire like nobody I've ever seen. The way this guy can take a rat's nest of wires and somehow make sense of it, figure out what's missing, where things go, and actually make things look good in the end is super impressive. And hopefully I'll have some more in-depth wiring video content at some point, but all of the wires for the engine and everything are pretty much routed in the fenders. You can see just a few things like the power junction block down below there. There's a grommet behind the intake and the firewall. There's some relays up in the front right here, but any wire that's exposed is wrapped in that really high quality braided wire loom, the high heat type stuff. So it turned out really, really nice. I'm a big fan of tucking wiring whenever possible because one, it helps with serviceability. You don't have to worry about, getting through a rat's nest of wiring to get what you actually need to fix. And plus, when you pop the hood, it looks so, so nice. So yes, it's extra work, but it is absolutely worth it in the end. At the back of the car, there's nothing too remarkable. The inside of the trunk was refinished with the speckle type paint and a matching trunk mat. This is kind of overflow for all of the wiring and supplies. Just got to get all of this stuff cleaned up. But also to keep things a little cleaner, we ended up doing a battery relocation as well. So that's tucked off to the side. It's pretty awesome how this ended up working out. One of the only things that we're not able to do at this shop is custom auto upholstery, and this guy just so happens to own his own automotive upholstery shop. It's called Scarlett's Auto Interior. It's in Mocksville, North Carolina. I've got some contact info down in the description box below if you'd like to reach out and see what he can offer for you. He does all of our custom upholstery work here. He actually redid my S10 bench seat a little while back, so I'm looking forward to getting that back in the truck. But the guy does awesome work, and he's got a lot of plans to trim this car out and make it super, super nice. So I can't wait to see that transformation. Before everybody gets here, I want to show you guys the interior right quick. Here's a little pan shot of the car. It's just so pretty. Just can't get over how good these cars look. Thank you, Mikey. Like I said, this car was fully frame-off restored quite some time ago. I think it was painted maybe like 10 years or so ago. It still shows very, very nicely. So pretty much the seats are out of it, the carpet, the dash pad, all of that's getting custom work done to it. We had to pull the dash out to install a set of Dakota digital gauges, which I'm a big fan. I've actually got some videos on installing different Dakota digitals in some of my personal YouTube projects, so definitely check those out when you get a chance. The other unique thing in here is the trans tunnel. It was custom fabricated to accommodate the 6L80 trans, and it's controlled via a low car shifter, which I'm a big fan of low car as well. I've actually got one of these in my S10, but this one's pretty unique. The 6L80 has an electronic shift by wire feature, so you can bump shift it basically. And this shifter allows you to be able to do that. So when you pull it down in the drive, you can click it over and then push it up or down to change gears. We still got to wire or finish the wiring to control all of that, but pretty unique, and it's really, really pretty, especially when Mr. Scarlett's able to build the custom console all around it. So yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
You want to hear it run?
Crank it up.
And that squeak is your fuel pressure regulator.
Did you get a little wet, Mikey?
Is that one of the blooper outtakes?
Next time, we need Mikey in a raincoat.
Yup. Round 2.
It's okay, I pulled everything down.
So what were you checking before?
Before I was checking, we had 3 codes in there. One was a cylinder misfire. It wasn't specific. Malfunction indicator lamp. I don't have that wire tied into the gauges yet. And then because I have to backfeed power in, it was throwing a code for that.
Yeah, it looks good.
Open pressure feels good.
Run these through resistors to this wire to make your bump shift work.
Okay.
But we've got the resistors, you can't buy them, 1 or 2 at a time. We got 1,600.
Good Lord.
I need 3. Alright, let's try this. There's one.
Could it be something that simple?
Maybe. I ain't got a clue.
That was with you staying on it the whole time, but every time you let off, it wanted to die again, right?
Yeah, and we got a misfire code. I'm wondering if it isn't in the crank variation learn. And I can't set that because it doesn't have a parking brake wired in. It doesn't have angle sensor for the steering wired in. Have that take it
to them, and they probably see this all the time as far as knowing, it's a new install. Well, they probably got a checklist to go down, being that this is old new mixed. You're gonna have to cut off this, that, this, and that to where you're getting correct codes or whatever.
Right. I'm gonna try and play around here. I just want to idle and stabilize.
Right. Yeah. Well, it did earlier when you first cranked it up, but then after that, it just kind of it went south.
So I just bumped the idle up. See what it does. Let me do this. Mail car.
Okay.
I think that clicking we were hearing is the label on the belt going over the pulley.
194.
Full line. Woo! What turned off?
Power steering line just blew.
Yep.
I don't know which one.
There was one down here. I believe it was this one right here. You can see where.
Yep.
Dadgum Monte Carlo all over again.
The power steering pump was working, so when we had the cap off, there was bubbles and everything like that. Started filling it, and the bubbles started going away, so we're good there, no leaks. And then I went in and started purge it, being that we've already purged it, but cycle it. And that's when the power steering line blew, so we had to shut it down.
Here's the failed power steering line. This was actually a kit that had been ordered for this car, and for some reason or another it failed prematurely. This is that PTFE braided AN line. We've got the nylon braiding on the outside, the stainless reinforced braiding on the inside, and that plastic liner, but as you can see, it just kind of blew apart. So we're going to end up ditching this altogether and coming up with a lot more of a stout solution. Rather than ordering a bunch of parts from different suppliers and waiting around, we've actually got a local hydraulic supply house in town, so we just took the old line over there, had them measure it up, and actually fabricate us a line. So this line is rated to 5,000 pounds. We've got the crimped ends going to a 6 AN fitting, so this is going to be quite a nice upgrade. Good as new. Well, the car runs great. We got all those little kinks figured out. Now it's just a matter of final assembly so we can get everything buttoned up and back over to the client so he can do all of his interior work and get this thing back on the road. But before I close this video out, I want to show you guys how that low car electronic shifter situation works, because it is really cool and I've never seen anything like it. So basically there's 3 sets of wires that come off of this shifter, and they all have to have different levels of resistance, right?
Yeah, and that's what I made here. Is your blue is going into sport mode. It's got a resistor wired into it. The green has a different resistor, and then the yellow has a different one. So yellow being downshift, green being upshift. So that all has to go to this wire, which goes to pin 7 on the transmission. With that, when you come down, you put it in sport mode, the computer is now seeing a certain resistance across this wire. When you bump it, it's showing another resistance across the wire. And that's what we're getting.
That's awesome. I mean, you really have to admit, the amount of technology that is available to bring cars like this up to modern standards is just absolutely awesome. I appreciate originality as much as anybody, but when you can fully modernize to where you can reliably daily drive something like this and not have to worry about crazy maintenance costs or, you know, weird little quirks and whatnot, you can actually take this down to Florida if you want. That's amazing. It's like a time capsule with all the benefits of new stuff. But anyway, it's so much fun. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to leave a like down below because it really helps the videos a lot. And if you haven't subscribed already, consider doing so because of course there's always a lot more content where that came from. If you guys would like to see more content like this on some of the cool cars that we get on the shop let me know down in the comments below. Until next time, take care.